Welcome to 21st Sports recap and reaction for Game 3 of the World Series between the Kansas City Royals and the New York Mets, played October 30th, 2015. We're going to go over every at-bat and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. And heading into this game, the Royals were up 2-0 as they won the first two in Kansas City, and now we are in New York for Game 3. And the Mets were in a must-win situation. And on the mound for New York, Noah Syndergaard, known as Thor, as the rookie was taking the mound in this high-pressure situation. And on the mound for Kansas City, another youngster, Yordano Ventura. Well, he's already had 9 starts in his young career in the postseason. But here in this game, in the top of the first, Escobar would strike out to start off the game. Then Zobrist got a double, so now you had one on and a runner in scoring position for Kane. Kane would get an infield single. Now you had runners on the corners for Hosmer. Hosmer hit into a fielder's choice, but Zobrist was able to score, and it was 1-0 as the Royals put up the first run of this game. Moustakas would ground out, and that would do it for the first, but not after the Royals put a run on the board. Then in the bottom of the first, Granderson would reach on an infield single. Then David Wright stepped in the batter's rocks, and David Wright rocks it out the park. Well, over the wall to left, 392 feet. That brings in Granderson with a 2-run home run. It was now 2-1 as the Mets took the lead in the bottom of the first. So the Mets respond right back with a couple runs in the bottom of the inning. And then Murphy popped out, Cespedes struck out, and Duda grounded out. And that would do it for the bottom of the first, but not after the Mets had taken the lead. So now on to the top of the second, and the Royals would strike right back. Perez with a leadoff single. Gordon then got a single. Now you had 2 on with no outs for Rios, and Rios hit a single, and that drove in Perez. Gordon digging it out, went to third. He was called safe initially, but David Wright called for the challenge. And upon review, he was called out as Wright made an excellent tag and a good throw. And so now you had Rios safe at second, but with the out at third, that was 1 out. Ventura would then sacrifice Rios over to third, and then with Escobar at the plate, the ball would pass d'Arnaud, and with the pass ball, it wasn't a wild pitch, it just was a little bit low. Got between d'Arnaud's legs, and now Rios scored. And with the earlier run by Perez that tied up the game, and now with this run by Rios, who had that RBI, it was now 3-2 as the Royals took back the lead with 2 runs here in the top of the second. Escobar then reached on a single, and he would steal second base, but Zobrist flew out, and that would do it for the top of the second. So now on to the bottom of the second. Ventura would set down the side in order. So you got d'Arnaud to fly out, Conforto grounded out, and Flores lined out. So now to the top of the third, Syndergaard would now sit down the side in order. As he got Kane to pop out, Hosmer grounded out, and Moustakas popped out. So now to the bottom of the third, Syndergaard would lead off the inning with a single as he was helping his own cause. And then Granderson takes it over the wall in right, just over the StubHub sign there, 347 feet, about as short as a home run as you can get, but it's a home run, a 2-run home run, and now the Mets were back in the lead by 1 with the score 4-3, so 2 2-run shots in the first 3 innings for the Mets as Granderson goes deep. Wright would then ground out. Murphy also grounded out, as did Cespedes, and that would do it for the third, but not after Granderson had put the Mets back in the lead with the 2-run home run. So now to the top of the fourth, Syndergaard would set down the side in order for the second straight inning, getting Perez to ground out, striking out Alex Gordon, and then getting Rios to ground out. So now to the bottom of the fourth, and the Mets kept coming as Duda led off with a single. d'Arnaud then doubled, and now you had 2 runners in scoring position with d'Arnaud on second, Duda on third for Conforto. And Conforto hit an infield single, and Duda would score. d'Arnaud would move to third, and Conforto was safe at first. So now it was 5-3 as the Mets went up by 2 runs. They extended their lead. And on the play, it was an interesting thing the way they had the shift. Hosmer, as he fielded the ball, he tried to dive to get Conforto out at first, but he ended up reaching. But even if he had been out, Duda still would have scored. So now Flores would foul out, and that would do it for Ventura. As Duffy was now warmed up and he came in relief, he would strike out Syndergaard, and then he got Granderson to fly out, and that would do it for the 4th. But not after the Mets had extended their lead to 2 runs with the score now 5-3. So now it's at the top of the 5th. Syndergaard would set down the side in order for the 3rd straight inning. Mondesi would come up to pinch hit for Duffy. He struck out. Escobar struck out as well, and Zobrist flew out. So on to the bottom of the 5th. Luke Hochevar now on the mound for Kansas City in relief of Duffy, who had been pinch hit for in the top half of the inning. He would strike out Wright. Murphy grounded out. Cespedes reached on a single, but then Duda struck out, and that did it for the 5th. So now at the top of the 6th, Noah Syndergaard would strike out Kane and Hosmer, but then Moustakas reached on an infield single. Perez then drew a walk, and Gordon drew a walk. So now you had the bases juiced for Alex Rios. He had an RBI earlier in the game, and right now down by 2 runs with 2 runners in scoring position. The tying run on second, the go-ahead run on first, and Rios grounded out, and Syndergaard gets out of the inning as Flores makes the play at short. And so now on to the bottom of the 6th. Morales on the mound for Kansas City in relief of Hochevar. Darno would ground out. Lagares would pinch hit for Conforto, and he would reach on a single. Flores was then hit by a pitch, and now Juan Uribe would come in to pinch hit for Syndergaard, as Syndergaard would be done for the night. And Uribe would hit a single that would drive in Lagares, and now it was 6-3 as the Mets led by 3. Granderson then reached on a fielder's choice, and now Morales would be done as Herrera would come in to relieve him. So now David Wright would step in the batter's box, and David Wright with the single drives in Flores and Uribe, and now it was 8-3 as the Mets were up by 5 runs now. Daniel Murphy then drew a walk, and then Yoenis Cespedes hit one deep to left, and that was good enough for Granderson to tag up, and the sac fly made it 9-3 as the Mets now led by 6 runs by putting up 4 in the 6th. Duda would strike out, and that would do it for the 6th inning, but the Mets now led 9-3. Heading to the top of the 7th, Addison Reed now on the mound for New York as Syndergaard had been pinch hit for by Uribe in the last half inning. And so now he would set down the side in order as he had Orlando to pop out. Escobar fouled out, and Zobrist grounded out. So now the bottom of the 7th, Ryan Madsen into relief Herrera. He would let up a leadoff single to Darno. Then Lagares flew out. Flores then would ground into a fielder's choice. And then Newhouse would pinch hit for Reed, and Newhouse struck out. So that would do it for the 7th. So now on to the top of the 8th, Tyler Clippard in for New York to relieve Reed, and he would set down the side in order. He's got Kane to pop out, Hosmer flew out, and Moustakas popped out. So now the bottom of the 8th, Chris Medlin on the mound for the Royals in relief of Madsen. He set down the side in order. So he had Granderson to line out, and he struck out David Wright and Daniel Murphy. So now the top of the 9th, 3 outs away from the Mets taking their first game in this series, and Uris Familia would come in to close this one out. It was not a save situation as the Mets led by 6 runs, but after game 1, they wanted to get Familia to end the game in a win situation, although it was not a win for him, but a win for the team. And Familia on the mound to get the last 3 outs. He would face Salvador Perez. He would get him to ground out, and then Gordon struck out. Morales would then pinch hit for Medlin, and Kendrys Morales grounded out, and that would do it for this game as the Mets win this one 9-3. Started off a lot of offense early, back and forth, But then once Syndergaard settled down, started setting down the side in order, and then the Mets just kept on scoring as it was, 2-1 after the first inning. KC then goes back up 3-2 after 2, and then New York goes up 4-3 after 3. But that was it for KC, though. They were shut down from 3 through 9, but the Mets kept on scoring. Add another 1 in the fourth, and then 4 in the sixth, and they get the big win at home. And Syndergaard gets the win. And of course, the loss goes to Ventura, as Ventura got blown up pretty early. Of course, the thing was, though, he wasn't pitching so bad. It was just that they made him pay for the mistakes that he did make. Of course, David Wright with a 2-run shot in the first, Granderson with a 2-run shot in the third. So he was able to just get that one over the short porch right there. And so Syndergaard, 6 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 7 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. And then Reed, Clippard, and Familia all did not allow any hits or earned runs. And no walks. And then 1 strikeout for Familia. So excellent relief pitching by the Mets. And then after Game 2 with Cueto pitching the complete game, in this game, the Royals ended up having to use 7 pitchers in this game, 6 relievers. Ventura only lasted 3 1/3 innings, 5 earned runs off of 7 hits, just 1 strikeout. Duffy 2/3 of an inning, no earned runs, no hits, 1 strikeout. Hochevar 1 inning pitch, 1 hit, no runs, 2 strikeouts. The Morales, just 1/3 of an inning, 4 earned runs off of 2 hits. Herrera, 2/3 of an inning, no earned runs off of 1 hit, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Madsen, 1 inning, 1 hit allowed, no earned runs, 1 strikeout. And Medlin, 1 inning pitched, no hits, no earned runs, 2 strikeouts. And for the Mets, Granderson, 2 for 5, 3 runs scored, 2 RBIs. David Wright, 2 for 5, 4 RBIs, 4 runs scored. Both Granderson and Wright had 2-run shots. And then Cespedes 1 for 3 with an RBI. Duda 1 for 4 with a run scored. Darno 2 for 4. Conforto 1 for 2 with an RBI. And Uribe 1 for 1 with an RBI. He's batting 1,000 in the World Series. Juan Uribe. And for the Royals, they were struggling. No Royal had more than 1 hit, as Escobar, Zobrist, Kane, Moustakas, Perez, Gordon, and Rios were all 1 for, well, they were 1 for 4 for Moustakas, Kane, Zobrist, and Escobar. And then Perez, Gordon, and Rios were all 1 for 3, as they only got to the plate 3 times. Rios had an RBI, and Hosmer had an RBI as well. And Perez and Rios each scored, as did Zobrist. Before the Royals, they just had the 1 extra base hit, the double by Zobrist, and that was their only extra base hit. They weren't able to go deep, and they really weren't stringing their hits together well. Usually the Royals, when they get hit, they do it at the same time, but they even left the bases stranded, as they had them juiced there, and then they didn't end up scoring. They had 7 hits in the game, whereas the Mets, they just kept hitting 12 hits, including those 2 home runs. And then that 6th inning, of course, where they really blew it open with those 4 runs, it just kept pouring on. It actually looked like the way the Royals were doing them in Game 2. So a big performance by the Mets on both sides of the ball. And Syndergaard, he was struggling a little bit early, but then he ended up settling down. And once he settled in, he got him, into the, through 6, into the 7th, and that's the sweet spot for the bullpen. Because then, you just have, your 7th inning guy, then your setup, and then your closer come out and finish out the game, and that's usually how you want to do. You don't have to go to the bullpen earlier than that. So the Mets not having to go too deep into their bullpen, get a nice start out of Syndergaard, who picks up the win for the pitcher, and he actually is the youngest pitcher since Doc Gooden to get a base hit in the World Series, and that was back in '86 with the Mets, of course. So that was a little interesting factoid there. But let me know what you think about this game in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and having a great week and have a great weekend and enjoy all the sports.